So welcome one and all to episode 59 of the Megavision Show, the companion podcast to Megavision's magazine. Today is November the 15th, 2020. I'm Graham Cookson, the production editor of Megavisions, and joining me this week we have Scotty in the Sky with Diamonds, the managing editor for Megavisions. And don't call it a comeback, he's been here for years, rocking his peers and putting suckers in fear. It's Chris Powell, the editor-in-chief of Megavisions. Woohoo! As always, we've got a fun show for you. We'll be answering some of your burning questions. But instead of our usual picks of the week, we're going to be tackling not one, not three, but two discussion points. One around Sega leaving the arcade business in Japan. And since the next generation of consoles is here, we'll be discussing the console launches. Actually, console launch nightmares to be precise. So strap in and join us for the ride as we power down from one console era and level up to the next generation in this week's Megavision Show. But before we get to the good stuff, let's take a moment to cry into our bank statements and discuss our week. So Chris, let's start with you. How have you been and how many PlayStation 5s did you buy this week?
So I did get a new system this week. But I didn't spend any money on it. I got it for free. It for free. It's not a PlayStation 5, though. And it's not an Xbox Series X or an Xbox Series S.
Okay.
It is a Google Stadia.
Oh my God.
Wow.
So Google has this thing going on right now. I guess if you've been some sort of like a Google Plus subscriber or YouTube Red subscriber or whatever YouTube or Premium or whatever, if you've been a subscriber for a certain amount of time, there's a deal going right now where you can get a Google Stadia for free as long as you sign up for, I think, 3 months of free Google Stadia Premium or whatever it's called. And so I was like, okay, I'll do that. It doesn't cost me any money. And they sent me the Google Stadia. So I have it right here. I've been playing a little bit with it this week. And you know what? I'm actually pretty impressed with what I've played so far, believe it or not.
Okay, what have you played? Like, what games have you played?
So it's really weird because it doesn't have a traditional like interface like a system does, where you select the the games, and there's like a store. Your mobile phone, there's an app, and your phone basically does most of like the purchasing and a lot of other stuff in the thing. And you'll see, like, when you purchase a game on your phone, it'll automatically pop up as it syncs on your TV and everything. So I'm like a Stadia Premium member, I guess, right now. So it's essentially like what's Microsoft's
Game Pass?
Game Pass, thank you. It's sort of like Game Pass, where you pay like a monthly fee essentially, and you can rent or download any game that's available. And so I kind of forgot, but they have the new God, what is it? The new dragon game that just came out, the Sega Dragon. The name just completely escaped me.
Yakuza Like a Dragon?
No, you're flying a dragon.
Oh, Panzer Dragoon.
Yes, they have the new Panzer Dragoon remake on it.
Oh,
completely. Yeah. So did you guys know that Panzer Dragoon remake was on Google Stadia?
I didn't realize this Google Stadia was still a thing. Sorry,
it's a thing. Yeah. It works. And dude, I'll tell you what, the controller. It's obviously pretty much copied from an Xbox One controller, but it's actually really comfortable.
How's that D-pad? That looks weird.
Yeah, the D-pad is kind of wonky, but the triggers are really good. You're right, Graham. It's like more of a DualShock with the analog sticks, but it's pretty good so far. I did buy Assassin's Creed Valhalla on it, and it has been playing really good. There's not a lot of stuttering. It seems like there has been some frame skipping a little bit, but at that time, I have a lot of people, in my house, like playing or streaming or doing whatever. And so I don't know how much of that could be just that, like so many people are taking up bandwidth, or it may be even an issue on like the game's end, potentially, like, having some frame skipping or something like that. Or it just could be on Google Stadia's end, and they're
how curiously, how much was Assassin's Creed on there then, if you paid for that?
I think it was like $59. I think it's $60, like the same.
Is that the same as Xbox and PlayStation, basically?
I think so. What I wanted to do is I wanted to buy a game on it, and actually go through the whole process. And Assassin's Creed Valhalla, it's been on my radar for a while, so I wanted to pick it up anyway. But I figured, hey, I have this new system. I want to give it a shot. Obviously, I'm not going. It'll never be like my main, way to play games. I have a gaming PC. I can do that. I just want to try it out and give it a shot, and especially because, Graham, you and I have a long history of like streaming, game systems and stuff with OnLive. And so I just wanted to play it that way I could kind of compare it to OnLive, that sort of thing.
Is it as good as OnLive? Because I thought OnLive's general service and setup was amazing. It's just kind of slightly too early, especially in the UK. Our broadband wasn't powerful enough, really.
I don't think the interface and some the features is nearly as robust as what OnLive was, because man, with OnLive you could you could be spectating someone and they could give you a control over the game, which is a new feature that I think with the PlayStation 4 just recently started doing. With that,
that's not recent. That was years ago. Years ago it debuted. Probably only recently did it work.
Okay. Yeah. OnLive was doing this like in 2013 or 2014. Like they were doing it a long time ago, way before anyone else was. This was technology that like was groundbreaking. It may have been 2012 or whatever it was. But it was like it was around that time frame.
And you could record. You had a button to record what you've just done as well. Like how like an Xbox and PlayStation. Like on Xbox, you tap home and then say record what just happened. You had that button on the controller to be able to do that, and it was awesome. You could just record and upload what you just did. I'm
not sure how I feel about having to use the app to do like so much stuff. It just seems like it would just be way easier just to have everything like in the app on your TV screen, like where you're streaming it to, versus having to use your controller to, control some stuff on screen, but then also having to do others on your phone. It just doesn't seem like it's like the most, efficient way to do it, at least in my opinion. But I've only played it a little bit so far, probably about an hour, just overall kind of messing with the system. So hopefully next time I come on, I'll be able to give like a much more in-depth review of the Stadia.
Excellent. Well, I hope you have an update next time. Is there anything else that you've been up to this week at all, or?
I don't know if I told you guys, but my Neo Geo MVS just stopped working randomly. After
you vent about it in the Discord, but nothing more than that.
Right. So there was a storm that came through a few months back, and we lost power. And a few days later, I went to go to play the MVS, and come to find out it wouldn't turn on. And so I suspect that there was some sort of power surge that may have happened, but it was plugged into a surge protector, and all the other electronics that it was plugged into were fine. So I was thinking it like, I don't know, maybe the power supply had an issue or something. I found a place about an hour north from me that repairs arcades. So I took it there, and they've had it for about a week. They just called me back today, and apparently there's something. The power supply and the power cord were really old anyway. I think there may have been original to the unit, and so I think it just went out. So they repaired all that. But then what I also did is it has these like those metal. Have you seen those metal feet that go on the bottom of like arcades and like old tables? They have those kind of like swivel, metal swivel feet. It has those on there. But the problem is that where my arcade is situated in my house, it's like on a tile floor. So anytime you move scratches it like really bad, and so I don't want it to damage the flooring any more than it has. And so I asked them if they could put on some like caster wheels
Okay.
on the bottom of it, some like, strong rubber wheels. So they were able to do that for me too. And so the repairs ended up being around $300 in total, which isn't that bad. I'm, I would never probably have been able to fix it myself. And, so I'm just happy that it's getting repaired. And then later this week, I'll be able to go pick it up and finally play it again.
Nice, cool. Well, Scotty, what's your week been like? Any Xboxes or PlayStations added to your house?
Well, I was going to say first, in response to what Chris was talking about, I thought he was going to mention a Polymega, so I got really excited, but that's not at all what he said.
Oh man, that's a whole other thing, right?
Yeah, it is. And also, I guess that's how they're going to get those Stadias into homes, is give them away.
I mean, essentially what the Dreamcast and Sega did towards the end of the Dreamcast life. They started giving away with 2-year subscriptions of SegaNet.
And I should have hit that up again. I can imagine it's pretty jarring not having a crossbar overlay or dashboard, though. I think there were rumors of Sony doing that with their TVs and PlayStation Now at one point. I don't know if it went anywhere beyond that. I just remember, but I would imagine that'd be very strange, though.
It's just different, maybe once I get used to it. So we'll see.
Yeah. As far as I go, though, we took a break last week, and part of that weekend was the Sonic Shuffle Marathon. So first, thanks to everyone who showed up for that, who chatted away. It was me, Corey, Kusanagi, and Anti-Chris playing that game. We played 4 rounds of that adventure. Let me get my notes in front of me, because I'm going to lose my train of thought as I see you guys' reactions to this. Actually, before I get into that, I want to say we did defeat our $1,500 goal. Defeated the goal? We met our goal, whatever. So combined with the fundraiser that I was doing on my Facebook thing, which was weird and whatever, that still goes to the same hospital My Extra Life is going towards, which now I understand more why they have teams and you can only save your individual account, because like Graham's are going to go towards a UK hospital, Corey's are going to go towards an Arkansas hospital, Brett's are going to go towards a West Virginia hospital, mine goes towards Pittsburgh. So, but that in mind, I also beat $500 for my own goal, so I'm going to get a silver medal. So that'll be like the Megavision's silver medal, which is pretty cool.
That's awesome.
I was and that's why I was bummed out about the teams not being overlapping from year to year, because we could have definitely had like a gold medal by now, but that's if you get $1,000. But hey, silver is cool. That's still cool to have like next to the Megavisions thing and everything. But
dude, congrats on that, man.
Thanks.
Nice.
You lead the effort on Extra Life for Megavisions like every year, and I don't think people know the amount of work that you put in to that. Just the prep and everything else. I can't say enough. Like, great job. And to see that you guys have raised so much money this year throughout, the streaming and everything else you've done, it's been awesome. So, dude,
thank you.
Keep kicking butt, man. That's really great. You should be proud.
I appreciate that. It's still a weird thing to be proud of, because it is the laziest way to make a difference in someone's life. But we are. I will welcome a physical attendee marathon next year, because holy crap. Even with the Sonic Shuffle thing, we had some audio difficulties, I realized, after reviewing, which that's on our YouTube now. I wanted to upload that because a lot of people, there's not that many Sonic Shuffle playthroughs on the internet. So it's going to be like, it's going to be like the long plays account, Game Grumps, and us basically up there now,
I wanted to ask you about that, though, Scotty, because going into it, we did have those discussions of like, you had no idea how long this might take. Right. I know you really didn't like the game going into it. Like, most people generally hate the game. I'm one of those that kind of like it. But what did you think? Like, overall, what was like after it's all said and done? Like, what do you think about it, the whole experience?
It's the way we do it in the marathon, if no one's ever seen that or heard of it, is we have our goal of $666 in the Dreamcast marathon to stop everything, or within reason, to suddenly play Sonic Shuffle. We play like an hour's worth, or at least one gem's worth. That does not show how bizarre this game really is. Because how I went into the Sonic Shuffle marathon was I wanted us to have all the characters, especially because it'd be funny to have Big the cat playing and whatever. But to do that, I thought, oh crap, how do I unlock anything? I don't have like a Game Shark that I can do this with. And the way we were playing Dreamcast Online. So I was like, I'll try to, the way you unlock it is you beat the story, you unlock the characters by collecting rings and using them as currency. So I'm like, I'll try to do that. I went through one board playthrough, which is 4 precious stones. I did not win because the AI cheats so bad, when it's on easy. And so it was just like, I unlocked some pictures and stuff, but then I was like, I got to find a way. So I probably went to more trouble than anything involved in this marathon just to find a online VMU save completed file of Sonic Shuffle that I could then download and put onto this thing that we were playing the Dreamcast Online through. Because it's okay. And the thing with this, all right, so we were not using an actual Dreamcast console. I won't say much more than that. But when you do, as you guys might recall, you see on the VMU, you see your hand of cards that you use to, like, I draw a 6, I move 6 spaces. So the thing that we were using to play the game on, it thinks that we have VMUs because there are save files that you can use, but we don't have VMUs. And you cannot turn off, like, let us see our cards on the screen in front of us. They just assume, oh, you have a memory card in your controller, you can see it, which is cool in one regard, but if you could turn it off, it'd be great. But also, if you think about it, Sega also made first-party VMUs without screens on them. So they were even kind of screwing themselves over because they were like those like 4 times the size or whatever. So that in mind, what we did was all of us were blindly drawing cards to play, which the only reason it sucked was when you get to the Precious Stone, if like it's 3 spots away and I draw a 5, I can't stop at the Precious Stone. I have to move 5 spots in a direction. So it was just garbage like that. But it was okay. It was kind of fun. And I'll be honest, this game does not really... It's overambitious. I think I kind of enjoy Sonic Shuffle a little bit. I don't hate it as much as I did because it's trying to do so much, but it does not show it to you well, especially for something that's targeted at kids. Like, these mini games make no sense. And then when you're all said and done, the computer's also kicking your butt. So it's not like you can even feel remotely accomplished. But I understand. Nick Flair was in our chat. Nick, again, I said as soon as we started the marathon, I was like, oh, Nick's in the chat. I'd like to thank him because it's his fault that I even know this game exists as a multiplayer experience. Like, I've owned the game, but he like pushed for us to play it during other marathons. So we did. And here we are now doing this whole thing dedicated to it. And he was like telling us and whatever and making fun of us. And like 80% of the mini games after it was done, we'd be like, what the hell just happened? And Nick would pop into the chat and he'd be like, man, it's almost as if they just told you how to play the game right before you tried to play it, but you ignored those instructions. It's
hilarious.
Speaking from someone who's played the game, those instructions make no sense and they're up for like 10 seconds or something. Like,
nope.
Wait, what did I just read? What's going on? Like,
no, it's bad. But like the thing is, too, you have to play through a board to see the different ways that the actual game board evolves. Like, pieces disappear, stuff falls apart. You have to fix something to repair a part of the board that would get you to the Precious Stone quicker. So there's surprisingly depth into this. But I think, I feel like part of Sega is like, there's no way this is going to do well. Let's throw as much into this game as we can. Because if it did have an actual series, I could have seen it doing well, like maybe like Mario Party and stuff.
Yeah. That's one of the games I'd like to see Sega try again, but just, don't rush it. Maybe you don't have to have all the features. Just make sure it's playable, it makes sense. But
it's crazy. It's and I told Nick even I messaged him like the day after. I'm like, I honestly see why you enjoy this game now, because like with other people it's fun, but to play against, and that's the thing too, is you can't like set up how many. If just the 3 of us were playing, we have to have one more player, so it would have to be a computer player. So they just right out the gate are gonna win. They're gonna win. It sucks. So it's like not fun. If they just remove that and you could have just like 3 players or something, it probably would have been a lot better of a game.
I wonder if you could just plug in a 4th controller and just let that person just not do anything.
I thought about doing that. I thought about like plugging in a controller and taking, because what happened after our second or no, like Corey had to take a work call or something. So what is cool is you could pause it and switch out and like make him a computer player.
Okay.
So the game was obviously thinking like, okay, some kids are not going to want to even sit through a round of this. So let's give them the ability to like, So we did that. And that's when we realized like we have 3 humans fighting against 1 computer on the easiest difficulty. And we're still getting our butts handed to us. And it's like, it's not that it's like unfair. It's just that it's like not fun because we don't feel like we have a chance,
Yeah.
Yeah, but I didn't mean to talk that much about it, but it was a good time, and thank you everyone for hanging out with that. But otherwise, though, I am currently playing Puyo Puyo Tetris 2, which I can say very little about. Well, the preview embargo will be up by the time this goes out, but there's really not much more to say that I wouldn't say in the review. So all I'm going to say is, holy cow, there are a lot more modes. And they added a lot to the playstyle, which will be inviting to veterans, and I think might be a little overwhelming to new people. But the coolest thing, it's the little things, but like as soon as you load up the game on the title screen, you can choose to play either just Puyo or just Tetris, and it'll just throw you into a freestyle round of Tetris or Puyo Puyo, which is really neat. Because like of all, I reviewed the first game for another site for my Sega Addicts days, and that was honestly a big complaint, is there wasn't somewhere that I could go to just play Tetris or just play Puyo. But if anyone's familiar with the story from the first game, it's not much different this time around, but oh my gosh, this needs to just be like a Saturday morning cartoon or something. The voice acting is really good.
Okay.
But it's weird. I'll have more to say about that. Yeah, I'll have more to say about that in the near future. It's not out till December, so it's kind of weird that they got preview stuff out this early, but all the better, because the first game, the campaign was like so long that I was struggling to get through it. But we'll see how this one shapes up. All that in mind, I'll go through my pickups real quick. I actually got a magazine, retro format. It's got Xenocrisis on the cover for those that can't see this, that are just listening. It's a UK-based magazine. They have they do some old. We're talking retro. There's the Amiga right there. Yeah, there's like let me see if I can switch to something else real quick. Like there's like ZX Spectrum games.
No way!
And stuff.
Yes, I'm a massive Spectrum fan. I grew up with this. Yeah, Spectrum.
There's some old. There's some old stuff in this, and there's like newer stuff too. So yeah, the first cover had Xenocrisis on it, so I really wanted to grab it. Yeah, this is issue number 1. There is an issue 0.
Wow.
I haven't had a chance to sit down with it, unfortunately, and I swear that this just kind of happened this way. But I also picked up the PS Vita Unlimited Edition of Xenocrisis. This was very limited on Play Asia. It actually has a fun little. I guess Play Asia is doing their numbered stuff now, like Limited Run has been doing. But it came with the Vita version and the soundtrack, this fun little numbered card, which if you can see that if I hold it a certain way, you can see that the number, the lettering's actually raised up, which is pretty cool. Soundtrack is awesome. And the game itself has different cover art and also comes with an instruction booklet. That
is so adorable.
Yeah, I might actually do a comparison video because I just ordered the Genesis version of Xenocrisis because I have a problem. But the reason I say that is I have the Dreamcast version and the soundtrack I already got on CD, but it's completely different artwork from this collection for the soundtrack. So I found that really interesting. TJ thought that was pretty interesting. So I might do a comparison unboxing, or just a comparison of the collector's editions, because no one's done that. They've only done like, this is what it looks like on Xbox One. This is what it looks like on Steam. This is what it looks like on Genesis, like gameplay wise. So might do that. I don't know, but that might be cool. And then lastly, I do want to mention this. I got the musician Remute. He released an album on Genesis cartridge. It is called Techno-Optimist.
I saw you. It was an Instagram post or Facebook post you put up about that, I think. And I was like,
Yep.
What? I was like, I genuinely was like, huh? Because we were talking about weird formats for audio the other week, weren't we?
I think so. With mini disc and stuff.
With Anti-Chris, I think it was, yeah.
Yeah. So Remute has released stuff on VHS, on floppy disk, on SNES cartridge, on vinyl, of course, but also on DS Lite cartridges, mini discs. I already mentioned floppy disks. This is he actually did 2 runs of this, but yeah, it's really cool. He does really neat stuff. So this is just a sound, or not a soundtrack. This is just music. Like, it's not a game. You plug it into your Genesis to listen to it. So
that's crazy.
Yeah.
Wow. Then you can have some sort of, oh my God, can you plug it into the Nomad and carry it around like a Walkman?
Yeah, probably. That's just how they intended it.
Perfect. That's what I wanted to see.
Yeah, that's me, though. Nice. Did a lot of stuff. Got a lot of stuff, I guess.
So, not much has really happened this week. I have got a pickup, which is Yakuza Like a Dragon. I'm actually going to mention it a little bit later on. Other than that, I wanted to mention, last week I spoke about getting Resident Evil 2, and I've been playing it a little bit. And so I've been cracking on Resident Evil 2 Remake. Oh, what is Scotty laughing at? What's up?
The first line in your notes here. I try not to, I want to have a genuine reaction to what you guys do and say throughout the week or what you've done. So I try not to read ahead your notes. I just read the first line of yours right now as you're starting to tell us about it. So that's why I was laughing, Graham.
Okay, fair enough.
Yeah.
So I will read what I've written in my notes. So, been cracking on Resident Evil 2 Remake. The Tyrant has entered the game and I'm no longer enjoying it because of him. So, yeah. Yeah.
Mission accomplished.
I don't know if that's a spoiler for Resident Evil 2. It's been out for a while, but in Resident Evil 2 Remake, they had the Tyrant in it as a bad guy, because I don't remember him in the original version at all.
It was he's called Mr. X, I think, in it or something. Okay, but short version, because we could have a podcast on Resident Evil 2, honestly. Me and Kusanagi could just talk about it for hours, but like, short version is he's in the original game, version of that game, but he doesn't follow you from room to room like he does in this. So you're safer in that game, I should say.
Yeah. So I kind of remember him vaguely being in the original game. I played it back when it first came out. I can't remember it that well. But yeah, so in Resident Evil 2 Remake, you come across this guy who's in a hat and a trench coat, and he's the Tyrant, or people call him Mr. X. And you can shoot him a few times and he will stop and sort of fall down. But he'll pause for a bit, but then he'll get up, and he effectively follows you pretty much through every room in the game. But there are a few rooms you're safe in. I had to Google it, basically. Yeah. I was like, am I safe in this room right now? Because I was genuinely scared at one point, because all you hear is a clomping sound, and if you're in a tight area, he's really hard to run past, because he just pound you and stuff. So yeah, I'm not enjoying it as much now because of him, because
that's too bad.
I feel like there are certain games, if I'm expecting that to happen, I will know what to do. Like, I'll think, okay, I know I'm getting chased by something, it's going to follow me around, I need to do this stuff. In Resident Evil games, though, it's almost methodical. Like, you got to think, oh, I need to take this item over here to do this, to get this, and come back this way, and work out the safest routes through the maze that it is the world, basically. So it's kind of, you've got to really sit and think sometimes, because you've only got a few item slots, you can't carry everything at once. And so, yeah, I like to take my time. And I know there's moments where they are frantic and a bit, you have to run away from stuff, like, occasionally, which is, again, is fine. But with this, it's like as soon as he joined the game, I was just like, right, I need to really work out my shit right now, and then just leg it from here to here. And then I've got to a point where I've had to, like, leave stuff behind that I want to pick up. And then I got to another area where I was, like, kind of safe for a little bit. And then I was walking around, and suddenly he came back, and I was just like, oh, crap. And I couldn't work out how to get past a certain bit, and he kept beating me up. And I was just like, this is so annoying. Then I worked out eventually, but I was basically nearly dead at this point. So I was like, I might as well just die and then restart this whole bit again. But yeah, I'm just not enjoying it. I'm just like, now that's happened. This is after the crocodile bit and everything, which I thought was awesome. So yeah, I'm just a bit... Okay. Yeah, I kind of wish they had another mode, like they had original mode almost, like where it followed a similar way, and then like Tyrant mode, so then he's following you throughout the game or something. Yeah.
Okay, I have a question then, because I've played the crap out of the original RE2. I still have not sat down with the remake, and I've tried to not look at everything about it because I want to be a little bit surprised, but
sorry.
That in mind, no, you're not going to spoil anything because that's the basic plot of the game. That in mind, so are you on your first playthrough still?
Yep.
Oh, okay.
And I have it on easy
in the original
as well.
version. Did you play the original version? Okay.
What, the original Resident Evil 2
back on the Dreamcast or PS1?
Yeah, I played it on PC actually back in the day.
Okay. So you remember how like disc 1 is kind of the easier mode. You maybe start as Leon, then disc 2, okay, the Zapper mode or whatever they called it. You start as Claire. That's when the tyrant is chasing after you. Like the disc 2 is arguably the more difficult. So
this is actually I'm actually playing Leon's story at the moment.
Yeah. Oh, what did I say?
You said Leon's easy, and then Claire is when the tyrant comes.
Just like it was like whoever you started with, the first disc was the easier mode because you at least got through it. You saw an ending, and then you can do the second scenario where he plays the other character. That's definitely the harder version of the game. I didn't know that they put the tyrant in through the first playthrough of it. That's interesting, but also kind of shows that they didn't have the confidence that people would play it through a second time.
I mean,
either. So
I feel like they could have shown him a little bit in the maybe like how they did originally in the original game. Like he could have popped up once or twice, but him following you throughout. I think that could have been another whole other mode. Like they could have got a tyrant mode, and they could have had that available from the offset. Like they could have had easy, normal tyrant or something. I don't know. It feels like it's changed the game very dramatically for me.
That's what it's supposed to do. There is Abby from Giant Bomb played through that game, and there's a clip they used, and it's just the best and worst thing in the world when she's playing through that game, and she enters the library, and the tyrant literally, however it's set up, like it kind of opens up, but from her right shoulder, like literally he comes in and punches her in the head. So like he's clearly had his arm like cocked back ready for the door to open because it just she's scared but pissed off at the same time. Like how was I gonna avoid that?
Oh god. It's quite a scary thing really. And it's cool. The scariest thing when I did not realize he would follow me. There's a bit when he comes in and you sort of have to take him down, and Leon sort of goes, okay, we can run on now. So I was like, okay, well, I'm going to leave him alone. And I ran off, and I'm in another room between a desk and a wall and stuff. And I suddenly heard the door open thinking a zombie was coming, because zombies can follow you through doors and stuff in this now. And I was like, I turned around. As I turned around, he's just like coming through the door, like crouching through, like, whoa. And I was just like, oh crap! Like pulled out my shotgun and was like, ah! But he was like, I was like stuck between this desk and wall. And he's just like, bang, bang. I was like, ah. He didn't kill me, but I managed to just get away with like, oh,
fantastic.
Awful. And so that genuinely terrified me. Though I was like, holy crap! There's this thing I can't kill.
I wish I could have seen that.
Yeah, so I can understand why people like it. I can genuinely understand that, but for me, it's kind of ruined what I feel about like how I like to play the Resident Evil games. I wasn't expecting it. So that's me.
Your exact feelings are why I'd never liked Resident Evil 3 Nemesis at first, because 2 you had your safety zones and stuff, but in 3 the Nemesis is where they introduced. This is PS1 original. This is where they introduced like he was going to follow you from room to room, from place to place, blow a hole in a wall, and there he is, surprise, Kool-Aid Man. Like I did not enjoy that, because part of the eeriness of Resident Evil that is what drew me into those games is there are times where you have to take things slow, but even taking them slow just builds that dread rather than nonstop boom, boom, boom.
Yeah, exactly. That's what I liked about Resident Evil games back then. Yeah. So I'll try and finish it, but I'm just not enjoying it as much as I had been.
I would say I don't even know if this is like a blind pro tip. Maybe look up and see how it shakes out to see if it's worth continuing, because you might be at a point where you're like about to get to a point where you're like, okay, I know how to duck, dodge, and weave this guy. Maybe you just haven't gotten that far yet. You know what I mean?
Maybe
like within your skills or where you've unlocked in the police station or something.
Yeah, maybe. We'll see. I'll give you an update later. But so I guess that does it for our weeks. We've rattled out quite a few things there, so sorry if it's taken too long, but I think there's some good stuff there, so excellent. And that will move us on to Scotty Mo's Mail Sack of Wonder.
Yeah, it's the mail sack. We got the mail sack. Beautiful mail sack. Oh, nope, that's wrong. That's very wrong.
Yeah, let's unzip this bad boy here, and we're going to see what we've got in the mail sack. So, Zombie Hunter hit us up in the Discord asking any opinion on any of the new titles that dropped this week. Yakuza, Spider-Man, Demon Souls Remake, etc. I didn't pick up a darn thing, so Graham, you picked up that Dragon game.
Oh, yes, I did. So, as I mentioned at the start, I picked up Yakuza Like a Dragon. So I've got it on specifically Xbox One at the moment because I don't have a Series X or a PlayStation. I forgot to mention at the start. I'm out of luck actually getting a PlayStation or an Xbox. They've all sold out over here and I can't seem to get hold of one. But I've got this and I can play it on Xbox Series X when I finally get one. I've started playing on Xbox One. So I love the Yakuza games, but I haven't really played that many of them. I played Yakuza 1, 2, a bit of 0, and I think I played one of the other ones briefly. I can't remember which one I played. But so yeah, this is not kind of the fourth one I think I've played now, but not fully played them all. I like it. The story is really good so far. It engaged me really quickly. And Kate as well sat down and watched it with me. And at the start, she's like, man, there's a lot of cutscenes in this game. Is it actually a game?
I was going to say, it's super cinematic, yeah.
Yeah, it's like so cinematic. And then after like 5 minutes, I was like, okay, I can stop this, we can watch something else. And she's like, no, I want to see what's happening, actually. This is really good. So we just kept playing for a little bit. If you don't know, this is very different to the other Yakuza games, though. It doesn't have the brawling live action combat anymore. Where you can punch and kick as you wish. It's actually more of an RPG, like turn-based system almost. So yeah, that is something I'm kind of getting used to still, because I don't like turn-based RPGs that much. I know there's some people out there who love them. I'm not a huge fan. There's only a handful of games out there I've really enjoyed because of they've been turn-based. This one, it's good. It's fine. It's just not as enjoyable as I think as the original Yakuza games where you get to punch and kick and stuff. But it works out okay. It's making the game actually feel more cinematic overall because of it, though. But yeah, otherwise it's great story so far, really good humor, and it's also actually quite almost sad in a way. We're going to talk about this later, but it's bittersweet because you know in the Yakuza games you got Club SEGA and stuff, and you can in other previous games.
They're just like Shenmue, dude.
Yeah, just like Shenmue. Exactly. But I was like standing outside the Club SEGA and I actually put out an Instagram post about this, and like I went inside and started playing. I played Virtual Fighter 5 and stuff. And I was like, it feels really bittersweet because it's such an awesome feature and it feels so good to be there. But in real life, if you don't know the news, Sega has announced that they're sort of withdrawing from the arcades in Japan. So it's kind of like almost like an homage to Sega, I feel like. So it was like
an
really
accidental
nice.
homage.
Yeah, because they would have made this game before that announcement. So yeah, so good story so far. Really cinematic. Really love the visuals are amazing and good humor. Unsure about the combat direction, but it works. It's fine. I might grow to love it actually. Who knows? But
Grim,
yeah,
I think the reason why they made the combat like they did, or at least I don't know how they did it first. If they did the story first, or they wanted to like figure out what their combat mechanics was going to be. But it seems like Ichi is wanting to live like his own like video game in life, right? And so his favorite video game is Dragon Quest. And so when he fights people, he fights just like in Dragon Quest. You have like basically the same menu system. It's very simple. Even the icons themselves look like kind of like what you'd see in like an 8-bit, video game.
So here's the thing: I've never played a single Dragon Quest game in my life. Like I know they exist. I've never seen one being played either. To be honest, like no one I know likes Dragon Quest. Like so,
just not in your wheelhouse or your friend's wheelhouse.
It's just not. It's not really. I know it's out there. I know it's a thing. I've never seen a screenshot of it. To be honest, not the proper game. I've seen the box art of games, but never actually seen. I've never bothered to look, to be honest. But I know it's a thing, and he does actually say in the actual game he does talk about how much he loves Dragon Quest. There's a thing near the start where he's talking about it. So yeah, and I was like, Dragon Quest, that's not Sega or Atlas, is it? It's Square Enix who owns it. So it's kind of cool that they talk about another company in a way, I guess.
It was called, well, I don't know if it was called Dragon Warrior when it originally released in the United States. I don't know if it was also Dragon Warrior on the NES when it was released in England.
I don't know, to be honest.
So for many years, we in America only knew the series as Dragon Warrior.
Okay.
Up until I think after because there was several games on the NES. I don't know if we got any on the Super NES. I can't remember, and maybe it just. But after that, I think that's when the name changed. to back to Dragon Quest.
Okay. I've just done a very quick Wikipedia search, and it looks like Dragon Warrior was the North American name for it. So I think in the UK it's always been Dragon Quest. I'm not sure.
So then you have even less of a reason for not having ever seen or play the game. It's been called the same thing the entire time.
Graham didn't know dragons existed until Sega Saturn.
Exactly. When Panzer Dragoon came out, that's when I realised these are things. But yeah, hopefully that answers the question, though. I don't know if you guys have any further questions about it for me, or
I have a question about it. You said Virtua Fighter 5 is in that?
Oh yeah.
Yep. That is literally a last gen game. Like a PS3 game is in a PS4 game and an Xbox One game. How insane is that?
I know, it's so cool. Because I think that was that game actually released on the systems at all?
BF5 was, on PS3. Okay. I remember the bad cover art, and it just like would sit. I remember. I don't even care about Virtua Fighter, but when I worked at GameStop, I would always keep my eye out for Sega games, and I remember never picking that up because it never had cover art, and then someone traded one in, and it was like $5 on PS3. I was like, I'm never going to play this, but I feel like I should own this Virtua Fighter game, so I bought it for literally that reason. It was so cheap. So
before we move on, I was just going to ask you, Graham, what do you think of Ichi as a protagonist in this game compared to Kazuma and how Kiryu, because they're two very different people, very different personalities. We've only pretty much known Kiryu as our main, protagonist in this series, and so now this is the first time that we're getting an entirely new character to lead, and I love him. What do you think?
Yeah, I'm a huge fan. I love Kiryu. He was great, and he's such a badass and stuff. Ichi's like, he is almost the polar opposite. He's still a bit of a badass, but he's so lovable, and like he's very optimistic in his views quite often and stuff. And he's very passionate, which I love, and he's very honourable as well. And it just comes out like, he's a little bit crazy, a little bit insane, but
he's like that friend that is willing to run up and just take a punch in the face for you.
Exactly.
It's just like one of those like wild, crazy dudes, but you can always count on him. I like him.
I love his haircut as well. I kind of almost don't want to ruin. Are you guys going to play this game at all, or?
I'm playing it now. I've been playing it. Perfect. I just didn't put it as I didn't talk about it as my pickup.
Okay, I won't say it then. But there's just a very funny joke about his haircut in the game, which Kate picked up on because she walked out for a bit and then she came back. She mentioned his hair, and I was like, "Oh, you just missed it." There's a really, I don't know if I should say it, Chris. Should I say it or?
No, don't say it.
No, all right. Everyone play the game. It's just a little side joke. It's quite funny though.
Do you think they planned it this way to have a new protagonist for a new generation now? Like, because we're going into the next gen of games, or you think it just happened that way?
I don't know, because I think the last Yakuza game they'd always planned to be Kiryu's final entry, effectively. So I mean, maybe they planned it that way, almost like they thought, we're coming up to the new generation. Let's get ready for it, sort of thing. So no, it's
something I thought of.
It's very fun. It's well worth it. Even though I'm not a huge fan of turn-based combat, it's still enjoyable so far, at least.
I pre-ordered that awesome Pix and Love collector's edition. I think they only did like 1,000 of them or something like that, and so hopefully I'll be able to get that coming my way in the next few weeks. So
I looked into that and I was like, I'm never gonna, I haven't got the space for this sort of stuff. But I picked up the Day Ichi Steelbook edition and happy with that. So all good. So we do have some more questions. Oh, sorry, it's called they call it Day Ichi Steelbook edition.
Oh, they don't call it Day One. That's interesting. No, okay,
because
Ichi.
Ichi. So Ichi is
Ichi Day.
It's one in Japanese, but it also
I thought it was
can
each. Whatever.
The way
each
sometimes
means,
you can. This is my understanding because I'm not very good at Japanese, as you all know. But my understanding is that in certain like cartoons and comic book, like manga and stuff over in Japan, they sometimes use the word ichi to almost mean a couple of different things. It can mean one, but it can also mean something else as well. Like they kind of like it's a colloquial way of saying stuff, because there's a joke in Bleach about it. So like Ichigo is the lead character in Bleach, and there's a play on the word itchy and Ichigo and using it with one and other things as well. And the fact that it's also to do with his hair color as well.
Really? Okay, interesting.
Because I think itchy is also strawberry as well, or something like that. Because it's like it's Ichigo Sando is it's a strawberry sandwich or something.
I'm sorry, I didn't mean to get into all of this.
Sorry,
strawberry sandwich.
A friend of mine at work came from Japan. He got Ichigo Chizo Sando, which is a strawberry and cheese sandwich. He picked up from Japan. And he's like, you can get Ichigo Sando. It's a strawberry sandwich. And he gave me one, which was just basically strawberry with a little bit of butter in between bread. I tried it. I was like, that's surprisingly good. I was like, what?
Cheese. Where's the cheese? No, you said cheese. That's not cheese.
There's a version he has with cheese, Ichigo Chizo Sando.
I'm trying to think of like literally any meal you would eat where accidentally cheese would get into your strawberries. There's nothing. So much is fucking nuts.
Yeah, well, like you go from Japan,
like salads, you'd put and you'd have some sort of like maybe goat cheese in it or something like that.
I guess, but I'm thinking of like cheddar or something. You know?
Yeah, he had a sandwich with cheddar and strawberries, but he also just had strawberries and just bread, and it was just like it's surprisingly good.
Okay, new segment. Instead of tell me I'm wrong, it's tell me this is disgusting.
Oh dear. Yep.
Anyway, I think that about does it, right?
Yeah, that does it. I was going to say that we have some other questions, but we're going to talk about them later in the show. So,
did the mic pick that up at all?
A little bit. That'll do, I think. Yeah. Better.
There, you got enough to work with.
Cool.
Okay.
Excellent. Perfect. Okay, and that moves us on to our first feature discussion. So, it's the end of an era. SEGA has announced that it's selling off the majority of its arcade business in Japan. So, yeah, sad times for all us Sega nerds out there. If you don't know about this, in August this year, August 2020, Sega closed its doors to Akihabara Building 2 arcade, which is one of the district's most iconic video game arcades. We've mentioned it before on the show. It's the one with the staircases outside saying Sega, and it's a beautiful building. That's sadly no longer one of Sega's properties. And then at the start of November, so just a couple of weeks ago, Sega Japan announced it was selling off 85.1% of its shares in Sega Entertainment, which is the company's arcade business, to a rival company called, I'm going to get this name wrong, it's either Genda or Genda. What do you guys think? How do you think I should pronounce that? Scotty doesn't know. He's shrugging. Chris is also shrugging.
Impact, so Genda.
Genda. Okay, cool. Excellent. And Sega has sort of said it's partly down to the whole COVID-19, what's happening in the world right now. There's been a rapid decline in sales and profits in the arcade world this year, which is not really surprising. And Sega says it will see massive financial losses because of the impact of COVID and the lockdowns around the world. But that's not all. More recently, Sega has also asked 650 employees to take early retirement. And some of those are top executives, and some of them will top executives have been asked to take a 5% to 20% pay cut. And its representative director will all take a 30% pay cut. So they're cutting some jobs and stuff, and they're trying to cut pay to certain higher up executives, which is pretty sad, I have to admit. But it's not all bad news. So there's been some misinformation out there. Some people are saying Sega's dead in the water. There's no more Sega arcades ever. That's technically not true. Yes, they have sold off the majority of their business. They're still holding on to nearly 15%, 14.9% of the Sega arcade business. And as part of the deal with Genda, Sega will be keeping those shares, and the Sega name will remain on its arcade businesses. So, at least the arcade businesses in Japan. So it seems like the Club Sega buildings will actually still say Club Sega on the outside, and the arcades will remain open. And Sega has said they will still be making arcade machines, and I believe Initial D is going to be its next one that's coming out. So Sega is still in the arcade business. So there will still be Sega games out there. It's just they're not going to be the majority shareholders in them, it seems, or its main arcade, the actual arcade buildings. So it's kind of sad, but it's not all bad news, if that makes sense. So yeah, I guess we're going to go into what our reactions are, talk about it, and have a little discussion. So Scotty, let's kick you off with you. What's going through your head?
I think it didn't really hit me. And it at first hit me the wrong way, because at first I thought like, oh, no more arcades by Sega at all. And then I was really bummed. But then it was more clear that it was their backing out of ownership more so, and still going to be making games. But I honestly, it didn't hit me as hard overall still, just because of how shit-tastic 2020 has been. So it's not surprising at all. But it is surprising following the Fog Gaming thing. But also, it hit me personally because Rachel and I have talked about our plans for a honeymoon. We're not married right now to surprise anyone or anything. That hasn't happened yet. But we always jokingly said, because I don't really like to travel at all. I could go into my reasons, but it's weird and OCD and other stuff. But if there's anywhere I wanted to ever travel, it's definitely Japan. She is a Disney nut, more so like the actual theme park nut. Like she used to go there every year down to Florida. And so we thought, oh, 2 birds with 1 stone, the perfect place for us on a honeymoon. Go to Japan, because she can check out Disney Park of Japan, and I could play some Sega arcades and finally see like home base of everything that has gotten me into video games. So, it hit that personal chord, because it's like, I cannot walk into a Sega arcade, so to speak. Like it's a small thing, but at the same time, it's still like my brother, who is over there right now in Okinawa. 2 years ago, he took a picture of the Sega arcade that actually just recently closed down, and I was like, oh, I want to go there. I think I mentioned this on the show as well. Yeah. Because I told him like, get me something or a token or whatever. Tokens don't exist, whatever. So it's sad, because also it's, I almost compared it to Chuck E. Cheese, but Chuck E. Cheese is not the same thing. It's weird, because arcades are so, it also shows just how hard COVID is hitting different areas, because Japan is a different world, but arcades over there are like casinos in the States, or like Walmarts in here or something. Like our country cannot survive without casinos and Walmarts, it feels like. Whereas Japan, nobody stays at home in Japan, because from what I understand, their living spaces, if you're in the city, is like sardines. So everybody's out and about and going to arcades and stuff like that. So it's really crazy that they are backing out of it. But I'm glad that they straight up said, yeah, it's COVID. There's no mystery here, Yeah. So yeah, it bums me out, but maybe it's just how hard this year's been, and how different of a person I am from like 5 years ago, that, I understand how businesses work a little better now, that this makes sense. Super shitty, but it makes sense.
Yeah, that's fair. Chris, have you got any thoughts there?
Muted.
Chris, you're muted.
Good, because Cortana just came up on my computer as I started talking.
What did she say? Chris, I heard you say anything.
I told her to go away. So I'm gonna have a little bit of fun with this one, and I'm gonna say that Sega is actually making some strategic moves to try to get themselves in a healthy position to sell off the business.
Okay,
and I have a theory. I think Microsoft is going to be the company to buy Sega here, probably sometime in, I think, 2021 is what's going to happen.
Wow, really?
And here's the thing. Microsoft, there's been rumors going around that Microsoft has been looking for more Japanese-based developers that they can purchase and bring into their first-party studios. What company out there that could potentially be on the market could Microsoft buy that they could bring in and give them some immediate impact and respectability in the Japanese market? Because mind you, Microsoft has generation after generation failed to make any sort of or gain any sort of meaningful market share in Japan. It just can't do it. Even was it with the Xbox 360? They got who is that famous Square Enix developer? They got to make was it Blue Dragon? They got he's one of the Final Fantasy developers, wasn't he?
Oh, that was a launch game too. I forget.
Yeah. So they've if you look, Microsoft has made moves and they've tried to do things to make inroads in the Japanese market. But they've just they failed to do it, and they're never going to be able to overtake Sony or Nintendo for that matter if they can't get bigger in Asia. And so I think they are looking for certain companies. And I think, man, if you imagine bringing in Sega and immediately you got Sega's entire library of games, you also have Atlas and all the PC stuff. That would be a huge get. I mean, I would imagine that would be a very expensive deal. Not as expensive as their recent one of what was the recent?
Bethesda.
Bethesda. Thank you.
Yeah,
it was. It's going to be nowhere near that, but it would be expensive.
That's also an American company, though.
True. Yeah, I'm just meaning in terms of value of like what it's going to cost Microsoft to purchase. Like, I don't think it's going to be on anywhere near the level of like a Bethesda. But it's not going to be cheap, and it would be interesting to see. So I think that's what Sega's up to. I think they're making some moves, and in sometime this next year, I think we may have some really big news.
So just for audio listeners, I've actually got my copy of Blue Dragon in front of me, and it says legendary RPG creator. I'm not going to get this name right. Hironobu Sakaguchi.
Nailed it.
I guess. There we go. Perfect. So yeah, was he from Square or something? I can't remember. They've also got renowned character designer Akira Toriyama and famed music composer Nobuo Uematsu, I think.
Nobuo did the soundtracks to the Final Fantasy games, and Akira Toriyama is the creator of Dragon Ball Z. Okay,
there we go. Yeah, I actually really like this game. I never finished it, but I remember really getting into it and enjoying it. So
I think it suffered from launch game syndrome. Like, so many people passed it over, you know?
Yeah.
I do have a quick comment about Chris's theory. I feel like Microsoft is an American company, and I feel like they've really been, it's so bad to do this, but they have been the meme of like the, who's the guy who's like, hello, fellow youth of America or whatever. Hello, children or whatever.
Steve Buscemi?
Fellow teens.
Yes. Yeah, Steve Buscemi.
Yeah. I feel like Microsoft is the Steve Buscemi of that, but instead they're saying, hello, fellow otaku. You know, they don't know how to approach Japan. And it would make sense eventually for Sega to be bought by Microsoft or for them to join forces, because the Dreamcast, the original Xbox was quite literally the evolution of the Dreamcast, and the Dreamcast had Windows CE in it. The Xbox controller was the Dreamcast face button layout, and so many things went over to them as well. And every 2 years, every year, E3, the rumors fly that this is the year Microsoft's going to buy Sega, and especially the one where they announced Phantasy Star Online 2 coming to Xbox One and all that crazy stuff. So I see it likely. It's as likely to happen as it is unlikely to happen, because for those of us that are familiar with the Civil War of Sega of Japan and Sega of America, like Sega of Japan would not listen to anything that would allow this to happen. But at the same time, if Microsoft can convince them somehow enough, or even if they like literally said like, we got Bethesda, or like they bring in some other company to try to convince Sega to join with them, you know what I mean? Like,
I guess at this point, all it's going to take is money, enough money, and they're businessmen. And if it's a good business deal, I think they'll make the smart decision.
Well,
yeah, I think maybe it's partially my cynicism, but at the same time, the fact that ever since Sonic showed up on Nintendo consoles, anything's possible, and so I don't doubt it at all anymore.
I think that's quite a good theory. I mean, as you said, Scotty, back when like the Xbox 360 launched, or even the Xbox, like it seemed like that was the next evolution of the Dreamcast. Sega had some big hitters like launch title or near launch titles exclusive to Xbox. But then as time went on, they seemed to shy away from Microsoft a little bit, but now they are coming back again. As you sort of mentioned, Phantasy Star, the new Phantasy Star Online and stuff. And other
360,
things.
they're big supporters.
Yeah, and like Yakuza and stuff. For ages, Yakuza was PlayStation exclusive, and they released like what was it 1 and 2 on the Wii U, and then nothing really happened on Nintendo stuff. But now it's like, you know, let's launch Yakuza Kiwami and Kiwami 2 on Xbox One and 0, and now this as well. Launch day title exclusive. Wow. So they seem to be warming to Microsoft again.
The more you talk about that, Graham, the more I was trying to think of like exclusives, like on the 360, Condemned launched with that thing. Mm-hmm. That was by Sega. When the Kinect came out, Sega had Rise of Nightmares. Mm-hmm. So like Sega's been one of the few. What a shock! Scotty's going to say on the Megavisions podcast how great Sega is. Sega has been one of the few like almost blind supporters to each company, because they like threw Mad World out on the Wii. They put stuff using the Kinect on the 360. PS3, they actually have the House of the Dead 3 and 4 collection that uses the Move controller that, you know, 2 people own in this planet. Chris is probably one of them. But but what I'm saying is, like, they're very not only adaptive but welcoming. And I think maybe that's a result of what happened and why they went under. They realized they weren't as much support to where they should have been in different areas and whatever. But I guess what I'm saying is maybe your idea isn't that crazy, Chris.
Yeah.
One thing that I would, as a Sega fan, I think it would be awesome for Microsoft to buy Sega, because in a way it could reignite our old console war, because Sega is now part of Microsoft. Microsoft's going against Nintendo and Sony. Join together. Yeah. Let's do it. Let's make it happen, baby. Let's go.
Our country is divided enough as is. We don't need this now.
This is what could bring us together.
God damn it.
Maybe. But for me, there'd be a massive win for me. I've always been a Microsoft fan more than Sony and Nintendo. So, bringing Sega on board, I'd be like, yeah, I've won. Although I obviously do love my Switch and we'll get a PlayStation at some point, but yeah.
I only have one thing to say with console wars and dividing us even more: make gaming great again.
Oh God!
Shut up.
But could Microsoft make Sega great again?
Oh, snap!
But it'd be interesting. I have to admit, I'd be interested to see what goes, because it seemed this year the rumors about Microsoft trying to buy Sega seemed more legitimate than before. Like, I don't know why. There was something about it when there was going to be a big announcement, and people were like, oh, it seemed to be, I don't know, there seemed to be more credibility behind it. So maybe you could be correct, Chris. Maybe it is a thing to happen. And I think, as you say, it would be a smart move for Microsoft, because it seems to me in Japan, particularly, there's a stigmatism about these American companies trying to come in and take over. It's like, why would we buy from an American company? We can buy from Nintendo and Sony, who are both homegrown Japanese companies. That's the way it seems. I got that vibe when I was actually out there several years ago, Tokyo Game Show and stuff. A lot of people seem to be dismissing, it's basically all Westerners at the Xbox area. I mean, there's some Japanese people there, but mostly it was Westerners who are actually, trying out all the Xbox stuff, going, this is great. But everyone was queuing up for like the Sony and Nintendo stuff. Like, there's huge queues for those. So it just seemed really bizarre. But Microsoft was really trying its hardest to show off what they had out there. This was back in 2007, by the way. So
I didn't know you went to Tokyo Game Show. That's cool.
Yeah, it was an amazing experience. And Chris could have been there, but he didn't have a passport. Which we only found out like 2 weeks before or something. It was like, why do I don't have a passport? What?
I know, God.
It takes a little more than 2 weeks to get a passport.
Oh dear!
Shoot, I was going to say something else and I forgot now. One last thing to think of. I'm surprised we went this far without mentioning it, actually, or this long. If they acquire Sega, with them they get Atlas and Creative Assembly, so it's like 3 for 1.
And Sports Interactive, and some other ones that they think they own still. Like, that would be amazing if they were to be able to do that. A couple of things that came to mind when I heard this news and stuff as well, just to touch on it. I wonder what this means for the arcade business in Europe, because that is handled by Sega Amusements International. I'm wondering if that whole deal includes, because I'm not sure how separated their arcade business is compared to Europe and and America and Japan. I don't know if they are operated as separate entities or if Sega Entertainment controls the European and American divisions.
I'm not sure.
I'm not sure either.
The last that Sega was really relevant in America was when they still owned GameWorks, and that was almost a decade ago or something.
Wow. So
I don't know.
Yeah, because I'm not entirely
There's no way
sure.
to find out.
If only there was some sort of machine we could use to ask questions. Get that Cortana. Speak to Cortana again, Chris. What's going on there?
Cortana, boost my morale.
But yeah, because I'm not sure how many games
what am I
actually
supposed
made.
to ask her?
Oh, I don't know.
Cortana, how do Sega Arcade? I don't know.
Cortana, how do Sega Arcade?
So we can't hear her if she's
this one
talking.
yet.
Yeah,
can't help with it.
Learn
Fair
how
enough.
to, lady.
But yeah, I'm not even sure how many arcade games actually made by the UK division, for example. I think they might just be an operating to resell almost, like Sega Japan go, we've made this game, now sell it in Europe, basically, rather than then actually making the games. I'm not sure how that actually works. And Scotty touched on it as well. What does this mean for gaming? This is the cloud service they were talking about for arcades. Is that still going? I almost assume it's still going ahead, as they've mentioned they are still going to be making arcade machines and stuff. So maybe that's technology. If they were far along with the technology, maybe that's something they will be selling to Gender.
Yeah, I think when they announced it, it wasn't launched yet, and they were like announcing that it would launch soon. So I don't even know if fog gaming's happening yet.
But if they've made the technology, then maybe it's still going to be a thing.
Stop making fucking Game Gear micros and spend your money elsewhere.
Oh,
God damn it.
Yeah, but I love that theory, Chris. I love the idea behind that. So, yeah, let's speculate.
Is this going to be another prediction that we claimed and like we need to be like, check the tape?
Yeah, check it. So, yeah, today, 15th of November, Chris calls it. Nice.
Remember the 15th of November.
Yeah. Any other final thoughts on this subject before we put it to bed for now?
Nope.
Sad and going to be interesting to see where it goes.
Yeah, as we say, yeah, it's sad news. 2020 has been a bitch to everybody, including arcades and Sega in particular, which is very sad for us. Gut punch, but it's not the end. Sega has said they're still going to be making arcades, so it's not completely the end for Sega in the arcades, which is they're a staple for arcade units out there. But anyway, so with that, let's move on to our next feature discussion. We are moving on to our final feature discussion number 2, which is we're calling console launch nightmares. And so we're now officially living in the next-gen world of gaming. The PlayStation 5 and the Xbox Series X have landed, and millions of gamers out there enjoying their upgraded visuals and faster loading times that come with these consoles. But then there's a slightly darker side. Aside from stock issues, people not being able to get hold of these consoles like me, there have been tons of gamers out there who have been reporting console failures or problems with the new Xbox and the PlayStation, such as overheating, pixelated screens, some other little issues out there, which have, hindered their enjoyment somewhat. And it's been very frustrating, especially because the stock issues means they can't get replacements so easily. But we have to remember, this is not a new thing. It seems almost every generation has had problems with launch systems. So we're going to take a few minutes. We're going to discuss some problems we've personally faced with launch consoles, with our console launch nightmares chat. And just a note, we're not talking specifically about problems we've had on launch day per se, but rather consoles we've bought on launch day or very close to launch day that have had problems down the line maybe. So up first, let's go with Chris.
Okay, you just
All right, so I had a couple different ideas for what I wanted to do, and I kept flip-flopping back and forth. But I'm going to tell both of them really quickly because they're not going to take too long. So my first one is the PSP. Did you guys buy a PSP, like a launch PSP, I should say?
I did not. I own a PSP, but not launch.
Okay.
This one has no battery, but I literally just pulled it out of my desk drawer. I remembered that I have one.
Is that a launch PSP?
It's a.
That looks like one of the newer models. That's a Slim.
Yeah, it's a 2000. Oh no, it's a 3000. Holy crap!
Ooh,
I gotta get a battery in this thing.
Look at this guy.
So I did get a launch PSP, and I don't know if you guys remember, but a lot of them were having issues with like dead or frozen pixels.
Yeah,
and I had I think it ended up getting. I got one, and it had a bunch of them all over, just sporadically all over the screen. And once you see it, and once you notice it, you can't not see it, and it drove me crazy. And I just spent a bunch of money on this. I'm like, I'm taking it back. I took it back, opened the new one. The new one had like a few more in it. And I'm like, oh, God, this sucks. I'm going to just take it back again. Maybe the third time I won't have any. The third one I got had like one dead pixel. And at that point, I'm like, you know what? Whatever. I'm just going to keep it. And so I ended up keeping that one. But I think after that launch, window of units, they fixed whatever was having problems with their screens. I don't know if they just had a bad supplier or what ended up happening, but those were really bad, and I remember that being a big issue. Were you working GameStop during that launch, Scotty?
No, that was right before me because I had to look at the date because that was when I was in college and I was really gung-ho on the music scene and like getting into bands and stuff. So that was 2005, March 2005. So I was I didn't even know the PSP existed, to be honest with you. Yeah. I didn't start working GameStop till 2008.
Okay. Awesome.
Yeah.
Well, you wouldn't have been working, GameStop for this next one either. My second system I wanted to talk about really quickly is the PlayStation 1. And I don't know if you guys remember your one of your systems eventually, that first model, the first version, because then they made the slim version or whatever.
That was a while, but yeah, the tinier.
Yes, yeah. So, but that original version, eventually, a lot of them would just stop reading discs, and it would just stop spinning. And I don't remember where I found out about it, or maybe it was in a game magazine. But if you flipped it on its upside down, it would read it. I don't know how it would do that, but
there had to be something physically with the motor, I would assume at that point.
Maybe. We bought a launch unit, a PlayStation 1, and then I think a few days later Sony dropped the price on it or something, and we ended up taking it back to get our money back. But in the when we or exchange it for a new one, I think I can't remember what happened. My dad, that's what it was. My dad was like, "Okay, I can go back and save $100. I'm just going to take this one back to the store and get my money back, and then I'm going to buy you guys a new one for $100 less." And so he ended up doing that. That system that he bought, not more than a few months later, started doing that thing where it wouldn't read the discs, so we had to flip it over. And we probably could have taken it back to get a new one after that because it was probably within the warranty, but we just never did. We're like, it works. And so we just, every time you put a disc in, you close it and then flip it upside down and you press the start button and it would work fine. And it worked fine like that for years and years and years.
I just picture your friends coming over and you guys know how back in the day when one TV was broken, you just get another one and stack it on top of the TV that's broken. People walk into the pal's house oh, there's the pals. They got 3 TVs stacked and every console is upside down. What's going on with them?
One TV had to be sideways. That's the only way you would display it.
Oh,
pretty good.
That is great. So yeah, I've actually, there's one of our feedbacks or questions we got is from Zombie Hunter, who talks about his launch horror stories. So thanks, Zombie Hunter, for sending this in. Target screwed me in sending the unit a week late than what I was expected. So he's actually talking about the current launch problems. So I don't know if he's ordered a PlayStation or an Xbox, but yeah, he's relating to I guess kind of the stock issues this time round. So yeah, it's killer. It's so annoying for some of us because some of us we've missed that pre-order window. We weren't able to even get the order in. But then there's some other people out there they've got the order in and they're not sending it, basically, which is really fun. I think one of my friends is in that situation. He ordered it, well, basically when pre-orders first came out over here, and he put down a deposit or put down the money, locked in the pre-order, and then it's like, yep, it's coming next week or tomorrow or whatever. And it's like, I still haven't got it. And he called up the store and they're like, yeah, we're not going to be able to send it for a while. It's like, seriously? Like, would you want to cancel it? And he's like, no, I want to get there. I want to get it. Like, I'm not going to cancel it. So, yeah.
I mean, at that point, it's he'll probably find it somewhere and then end up canceling the other one.
Yeah, I think that's what he said. He's going to keep an eye out other places, but he doesn't want to lose out on that pre-order almost because it's like gold dust at the moment. So, because some places are sort of saying early December they're expecting to get new stock in over here at least, which is not good. Yeah. But, and so I actually have a couple of stories, but this is the one. So if we've got time, I might tell my other ones, which are a lot quicker. So this one's a little bit longer, but hopefully it'll be good. So this is a true story of heartache and first world problems, really. So grab the tissues and strap in, folks, because so when the Xbox 360 and PlayStation 3 were announced and going to come out, I was actually going to hold off because the only console at that point I bought at launch was the Dreamcast. And the Game Gear, actually. So Dreamcast and Game Gear. But I don't normally buy consoles at launch very often. So I was going to hold off buying an Xbox 360. But then I heard that Elderscrolls Oblivion was going to be exclusive for the Xbox 360 and a launch title. And Morrowind is one of my favourite RPGs or adventure games of all time. And because that game just blew my mind when it first launched. I was like, oh my God, you can basically go anywhere and do anything. This is incredible. I can sneak into someone's house and steal a book if I want to. That's so cool. I mean, that sounds weird, but I thought it was amazing. And then I saw, I know. And I saw the early screenshots of Oblivion, and I was like, that looks beautiful. It looks amazing. It looks so lifelike. It excited me in more places than I care to mention. And I've been wanting to get a new Elder Scrolls game for years, so I threw caution to the wind and slapped down a deposit to secure myself one of these lovely consoles. And it cost me around £300 with a game. That's what the deal they were doing at the time. And I should mention, and Chris can probably verify this, I had a terribly paid job at the time. I was barely making minimum wage, basically, and still living with my parents at the time. So this was a huge deal for me because I couldn't really afford much. I could get the odd game here and there, but yeah, like laying down £300 at once, that's like took me ages to save up for, basically. So yeah, so then launch day drew closer, and then Bethesda actually announced Oblivion was delayed. It was no longer going to be a launch title, and it was no longer going to be Xbox 360 exclusive. It would be out on PlayStation 3. I think it was going to be launched on Xbox slightly earlier than PlayStation 3, though, so it's kind of a semi-timed exclusive. But it was delayed, so I was a bit gutted. But there were still a few other games I had my eye on, like Perfect Dark Zero, Cameo, Call of Duty 2. So I kept my deposit. Boy. And I ended up grabbing Perfect Dark Zero. Perfect Dark on the N64 was one of my favourite first-person shooters. Like at the time, I was like, this is such a good game. It's going to be amazing. Rare can do no wrong. They made so many great games in the past. And I was so disappointed with Zero. I won't say it's terrible, but it wasn't great. They kind of ruined everything that made Perfect Dark so good back in the day. And it's because it was my only game I had with it. You could download demos, which was cool, but it was the only game I had with it. I forced myself to play it. I completed it. I had some enjoyment with it, but I was still disappointed, even though I finished it nevertheless. But keeping me going through that time, I kept reading the early previews and reviews of Oblivion as they were coming out in the magazines and online, and the game just looked and sounded so fantastic. I could hardly believe it. This was the true next-gen game I'd been waiting for. Everything I read about it, they could ride horses. Oh my God, amazing. You could drop something from the top of like a mountain, it would roll down a hill, like because it had real physics. I was like, this is so cool, it's going to be off the chain. And then a few months rolled on, I managed to get a couple more games. I think at that point I got like Cameo, maybe did pick up Call of Duty 2, I can't remember now. And then Oblivion finally came out, and I was so excited, I bought the special edition on day one. So yeah, for those audio listeners, I'm actually holding up my original copy, the special edition.
Cardboard box, baby.
Cardboard box, oh yeah. And it's got like an Imperial coin and like a collector's edition notebook and stuff. I won't get this one out actually now. I was about to, but I won't.
I was looking while you're opening that stuff up. I was double checking because I was like, well, they were backwards compatible. That didn't kick in until 2 years after the launch of the 360.
Oh yeah.
So you didn't even you literally had Perfect Dark Zero.
Yeah, basically. Yeah. But yeah, I picked up. So yeah, as I say, I picked up the limited edition version of Oblivion, and I skipped home like Charlie Bucket with his golden ticket in hand. I was so happy, so excited. I booted up the game and started playing, and I finished the tutorial dungeon, and I was like, this is so cool. Like, the tutorial dungeon wasn't the best experience because it's very dark and dingy and a bit slow and long, but it's still kind of cool for me. And then you step out into the world for the very first time, and it was amazing because there's like grass and trees and the beautiful flowers in front of you, and like there's the moat or river around the sort of castle dungeon thing that you leave. I was like, this is so cool. But I was playing on my crappy little TV, like CRT TV in my bedroom, and it wasn't very good or very big, and I stopped playing because I had an idea. My parents were out of the house at the time, and downstairs we had it was still a CRT TV. It wasn't HD or anything, but it was a bigger CRT TV with better sound and better picture quality, like better colors. It was really good for playing games on. So I was like, I'm doing it. I'm taking my Xbox 360 downstairs so I could experience this in the best way possible that I could at the time. And so yeah, took it downstairs, plugged in my Xbox 360, connected to the lovely bigger TV, set the TV to the correct channel to make sure it was there. And then a little tingle in my hand, quiver in my heart. I pressed the power button on my Xbox 360, and I got an E74 error code on screen and the red flashing lights on my console. I got the red ring of death, and I was absolutely devastated. Just like the one game I've been dying to play before the Xbox 360 even came out. It's the one game I bought the bloody console for, killed my console, basically. And I actually think I nearly cried. Like, I was actually genuinely just that upset. I was like, what do I do?
Probably not even out of sadness, but also out of stress at that point because of everything you physically just did to get down there to that spot.
Yeah, it was just like I built it up so much, and I experienced just a glimmer of it. It's like I just tasted the game. I was like, this is so good. Oh my god, this is everything I wanted. And then it's just like, what do I? It was almost like, what do I do? What can I do? I couldn't ask my parents for another £300 console. And yeah, I was so disappointed. It actually took me a few months to get myself a new console. I think I finally got it replaced by Microsoft because they started doing the refunds or returns on the Red Ring of Death consoles. Oh my god! But I was so disappointed.
Were they ever allowing you to do returns on to the store? You could take them to the store. I thought you had to take them directly to Microsoft.
Oh, that was it. Yeah, you had to contact Microsoft or something about it. They arranged for a pickup or something. So
I remember I had to send mine to Mexico when I lived in Guam.
Oh my god!
It was the weirdest thing.
60% failure rate, ladies and gentlemen. 60% failure rate with launch consoles.
God.
Yeah,
that has to be the all-time high, right?
Oh yeah,
I'm
360.
Pretty sure that because there's been launches of games I forget which Call of Duty, but one of the Call of Duties was so mass produced that some discs did not even actually have data on them.
Oh my god!
Yeah, good stuff. I want to say console wise, that was the biggest flop because even as poorly as some sales were, I don't think things backfired as much as they did on that.
Yeah, it's. So I think up until that point, the PSP was one of the most renowned ones for the pixels, but that didn't stop you being able to play the games per se.
Right.
This just you had a brick basically, and there were theories there were people who managed to fix it by overheating their Xbox by wrapping in towels. I'd seen the videos online. I tried that and stuff. That did not work at all for me.
My buddy AJ had a launch Halo 3 styled Xbox, so he was never going to get rid of that, the 360.
Oh, yeah.
And I borrowed it from him for something once, and I remember he couldn't be at this event that I was doing, and he was walking me through how to fix it, and it ended with me asking okay, wait a minute, how many goats do I need to sacrifice just to get your stupid system to turn on? It was ridiculous. It was the Fonzie starting a car or something,
Yeah, it's man. But yeah, that was the worst experience I've ever had.
We should briefly mention that Sony did not go without errors this launch as well. The PS3, there was the yellow light of death, but that was such a smaller percentage
Yeah.
of happening to people.
Yeah, I remember that being a thing at one point, but yeah, because people are like, oh, Sony's doing it as well now. But yeah, the Xbox 360 was just notorious for that.
Yeah.
Yeah. But man, yeah. And actually just touching on it, because you kind of sort of semi-touched on it, Turkey chasing TJ, he had one of his launch stories. So the day he got home with the Dreamcast on launch, he had Sonic Adventure. And then the game had loads of horrible glitches and problems with it. So my parents had to bring me back to EB Games the next day to explain that the game didn't work. Maybe there was a problem with the console or game. I went through 3 copies of Sonic Adventure and another console before I found one that worked. It wasn't until months later I heard from people who had the same issues with the first batch of Sonic Adventure. It was very frustrating. Thankfully, I didn't have the other launch games that had the same issue. So yeah, I guess in America at least, Sonic Adventure had lots of problems with some of the launch titles of that game. It's because you kind of touched on Call of Duty, not some of them not having data. There's similar things with Sonic Adventure, it seemed. I also vaguely remember the first batch. It's not a launch title, but Metropolis Street Racer. I think they did like 2 or 3 versions of that, because the first version there was a problem with the kudos system in that game. There's a way you could cheat and basically get tons of kudos or something, or is the other way around that you couldn't get enough kudos on one of the tracks.
Oh, kudos.
Kudos. Sorry, kudos.
I'm an American. You saying what? Sorry.
I'm probably saying it wrong. Don't worry. It's probably not you. It's probably me. So just blame Graham. So there was a problem with that system, so I had to reprint the game or something. Yeah.
Well, that generation had basically every launch title by Midway, Ready to Rumble Boxing, Hydro Thunder, and Mortal Kombat Gold. Some of those games did not have audio working properly, or some actual visual elements were bugging out pretty bad. So they immediately re-released them with the tacky as hell, hot new explosion. Literally looks like a cereal box with Super Prize inside kind of sticker on the cover, like it's on the manual cover art.
Yeah.
For those 3 games, they were re-released. So, pro tip for collectors of Dreamcast out there: you want the hot new, or as we like to call them, the hot and ready versions of Hydro Thunder, Mortal Kombat, and Ready to Rumble Boxing.
Oh yeah, yeah. So Scotty, what was your launch problems?
I've been pretty fortunate overall. I've not. The only sorry, I was talking over you a little bit. There's a little bit of a delay there. But the only consoles that I got launch day were the Dreamcast, which is mine right here, with the Quake 3 Arena sticker on the lid, because I'm awesome. And the Nintendo Wii, I got day one as well. Nice. I don't want to tell my Dreamcast story because now I feel bad about TJ's, but I mean, the downside of mine, I didn't get to skip school that day. I don't know. That was my grand scheme. But I got Sonic Adventure. I got the VMU. I played it, and it was good. But the Wii, I mean, there's horror stories around the Wii and whatever, because it was just short supply, fake demand, all that garbage, and all those rumors and whatever. I actually had a lot of fun with that one. I got a Wii day one. I was actually at the GameStop that I ended up working for, no joke, a couple months later. But I was in line, got it day one, got Wii Sports, Twilight Princess. That's like all me and my college roommates played for a couple months. And what was fun was that was right before Thanksgiving break. Going back, I was a junior in college, so my high school buddies and I were still kind of hanging out regularly. And one of them was going to wait for a Wii on Black Friday. So I was like, I got nothing to do. I'm in college. I'm on vacation. So we went out to Best Buy at like 4 a.m. and we're just sitting in line playing our DSs, like making friends with people in line. Like we'd be like, all right, we got to go. We're going to make a McDonald's run. Are you guys cool to hold our spots? And they're like, yeah. So that was kind of fun. So it's not really, he ended up getting one. I was literally just there to keep him company. So that was cool. And like the only other console related type launch story I have is another fun one where I didn't have a 360 yet. I got the PS3 before the 360. When I was working at GameStop, Resident Evil 5 came out with a 360 collector's edition. The only thing that was different about it is the 360 was solid red. It literally did not say Resident Evil anywhere on it, but I worked that midnight launch and I was getting RE5 for PS3 and 360. So works that midnight launch. Normally when you do that, you don't get out of work until like 1 or 1:30 in the morning. So I'd get home about 2 a.m. and my buddies were waiting online. We booted up Resident Evil 5. We played it throughout the night. I had to open the store the next day. So no joke, 8 a.m. rolls around. I say to my buddy online, I'm like, so I got to go hop in the shower and head to our store and open it up. So I did. And that was a lot of fun. And I do not remember that shift, except that a lot of it was like, what's going on, guys? Yeah, playing Resident Evil 5 all night. I was here last night. It's a great game. You should buy it. What's that? You want 10 copies? You got it. Okay. And I remember I did not sit down for my lunch that day, though, because if I did, I would have fallen asleep. So, and so, but the thing is, like, maybe it's my specific GameStop, but if there was a console launch coming up, it might have to do with the staff as well. But like, we would have our pre-order list, and we would have, you know, a lot of the regulars were, of course, on that, but we were told to call out and say, hey, just a reminder, you've got $50 down. That was the thing too, is it used to be, they learned the hard way from this, like to pre-order a game, minimum of $5 goes towards the final price. To pre-order a console, at one point it was $5, but they upped the ante with that to make it either $25 for handhelds or $50 for consoles, because that way you would think people would remember, I have $50 sitting at the store towards towards a $200, $300, $400, $500 thing. So we'd have the list of like pre-orders. We'd have next up the people that, like, if we got enough in day of, we would let them know, hey, it's first come, first serve, but you should probably be here launch day. And we would do like a list. Some stores wouldn't even do that. They would just say, fuck it, we do not care about our customers. But we were kind of the cool people that were more personable and enjoyed the people that shopped at our store. So we were okay with that. So like the Xbox One and PS4 launches, I do remember they were not crazy, but it was a lot of like, okay, come in, get your number. We had a line, we had like things lined off and blocked off, and we'd call in the next crowd. They'd already had, and we would literally go out to the line, say, what games did you want to get with it that maybe they couldn't pre-order or for whatever reason you couldn't do it. So we would literally set the games aside and like have them ready to go with their consoles. Boom, bam, boom, pre-order, you ringed out and you're good to go. Need to pre-order anything else. So like, maybe it's my store. I've never experienced like super duper, oh, what do you mean my console's not here? Like, where's my console? I'm gonna kick your ass in anything like that. Like maybe it was GameStop, maybe it was my store. We were a pretty well-oiled machine to get people in and out, and because we wanted to go out and leave and like go and play our games as much as anybody else did. Yeah. So why are we waiting around being idiots? You know?
Yeah.
So,
wow.
Sorry, everybody. I'm okay with everything.
Everything's coming up, Scotty. I love that.
Yeah.
Oh, wow. Yeah. Do you think we've got time to hear a couple of other little quick stories from me, or you good?
Sure, go ahead.
Okay.
I'm fine with them.
I'll be very quick with these. So I got Game Gear. I don't think it was actually on launch day, but it might have been just after launch day. My gran got it for my birthday, basically, that year. So I think it's the original launch model, as it were. But yeah, I got my Game Gear. I love my Game Gear so much. It was brilliant. It lasted a while, but I remember getting Mortal Kombat at one point, playing the heck out of Mortal Kombat. I thought it was amazing on Game Gear, especially. And I don't know if you know about it. There's a move, basically, if you hold back, like to the left, basically, or back, you can do some like cool kicks with Liu Kang. And I think one of his special moves you can pull off by putting back as well, and then forward and doing a fireball or something. But basically, the game kind of got stuck of just him walking backwards. So I just kept doing this cool kick, and he just kept like doing a roundhouse kick to people. I was like, oh, I've cracked the game somehow. Somehow made this cool cheat or something that I can put off this move like as much as I like. And then I finished the game for a bit. I was like, oh, I'll stop that and I'll play Sonic 2 because I had Sonic 2 on there. And suddenly Sonic kept running left, like wouldn't stop running left. I was like, oh, something's gone wrong with this. And it basically turned out when I was playing Mortal Kombat, I'd been playing it so much and pressed down on the left so much, it kind of cracks something underneath the D-pad. So it's basically forcing it to go back constantly. And yeah, luckily it was still within warranty. So it must have been within the first year that my mum was able to take it back to the shop and get a replacement one. But I think the next one I also had problems with the D-pad, like the D-pad came out. So I remember this is really naff. I basically got a couple of 10p coins and was using that on top of it to press as a D-pad, basically. Yeah, just really janky. But yeah, those were a couple of problems with the Game Gear. And Chris, I don't know if you remember this. With the original Xbox, I had one which was... Again, I didn't get it actually on launch day, but I think it was one of the early models, like one of the launch models effectively, because I got it not that long after launch. I've been playing on it for ages, playing Halo and everything. Halo 2 came out. We'd been playing Halo 2 online a little bit, and this was back when Sega Nerds was quite big and stuff, and we had organised like a semi-official Sega Nerds style like online tournament or something, or we were going to play against another website or something. And it came to the night, I was like, all excited, turned on my Xbox, it just would not work. Like, Halo 2 was stuck. I couldn't actually get the disk drive open. The Halo 2 was stuck in there. Can you remember this, Chris? I actually was messaging you, go, dude, my Xbox has just died.
I can't remember. Oh my God.
Oh, no. It was like, you're like, where are you? I'm like, dude, my Xbox is just not working. You're like, we're about to start playing. I'm like, I can't. It was in the evening, the stores were shut and stuff. I think the next week I went out and then bought a Crystal Xbox. They had limited edition Crystal Xbox. So I got a replacement quite quickly. But it was just that awkward. It's basically like a semi-transparent whitish Xbox. Chris, I did show you back in the day, Chris, but you must have forgotten about it. I think that model might have... Oh, no, I might still have that model. I can't remember if that's the model I've still got, if that one died as well. But yeah, just, again, great game I wanted to play. Halo 2. Well, I played it before, obviously, but yeah, there's suddenly it just stopped working the moment I needed it to work to play online with against people. But yeah, that was another spectacular failure for one of my launch products. So yeah, oh man. But yeah, so I think there's a lot of great stories there. And Scotty, you've been a lucky son of the gun there with these consoles, I guess. But
I guess.
Yeah.
I looked up the Crystal Xbox thing. They're worth a pretty penny if you've still got yours lying around.
Okay. Maybe I'll go and check it out. Yeah, see.
Yeah, like over $100 loose still.
Oh wow, really? Ooh,
yeah. I don't know. Take that with a grain of salt, but
I think I've still got the box somewhere actually.
I wish I had horror stories, but I guess I'm just so fortunate.
Consider yourself lucky.
Yeah, consider yourself lucky. I mean, it's funny now, but at the time, it's so not, like, especially when you want to play the game you wanted to play for years. God damn it!
Right,
and that's the thing. You very well could have had one had you ended up getting one of the new PS5s or Series X's or S's.
Yeah.
Here's the thing, you guys. Here's the thing. My kids aren't here. I did get a Series S, but it's for Christmas. And so it's put away. So I hope for damn sure when we open it up, we're not going to have some of these problems because that was
might want to test that out first.
Yeah, it's not like I could go get it fixed anywhere or get a replacement right now. So I think everyone's just kind of SOL, just kind of waiting. So.
Oh wow. Yeah, give us an update on that, Chris, if you can. And also for any listeners, any viewers, let us know your launch day horror stories because we'd love to hear them. As terrible as they are at the time, they're always kind of slightly funnier down the line. But yeah, so with that, I guess that wraps up our feature and our show. Do we have any magazine announcements or any website announcements going on?
Nope, not right now.
Not right now. Any Mega Bar announcements, Chris?
Okay, so here's the thing. We're trying to make a firm and final decision on if we're gonna stay at the house or not. What I mean in terms of like living here long term,
right? Because
we've been looking at some other houses. We'd like to possibly like get a big upgrade in our house, where like the next one the house we buy is gonna be much bigger, much nicer. So we're trying to decide, would we stay here? And if we're gonna stay here, 100% going to build a barn because we have to if we're going to stay here, or we may sell this house and move to another house, or we may keep this house and like rent it out or something. We don't know, but we're trying to figure it out right now. But that's where we're at with the mega barn.
Cool. Okay, that sounds good. Excellent.
Yeah, it's not just like building a tree house in the backyard, folks.
That's what I was imagining it was going to be. So, Scotty, any announcements from your side at all?
Nope, my lights are flickering now, so it's a good thing we're ending, I think.
Fantastic. We'll leave it there then, and thanks everybody for watching. Thanks for listening. Catch you later, and be excellent to each other.
Bye!
See ya.
Honey, I gotta tell you about this sandwich. Yeah. So what RTX does is like what you should do is turn RTX off and tell Odin to stay quiet for a second. Turn RTX on, you talk, and then have Odin talk, and then it'll recognize Odin as the background noise it's not supposed to pick up. If that makes sense.
Okay, so can I just like uncheck the remove background noise and that'll turn it off basically?
That should work, yeah.
Should work.
Okay, it's doing a little spinny thing. Okay,
likes the spin.
Okay, Odin, don't say anything for a second until I tell you, okay? Okay, turn it back on. Not yet. Okay, hello. This is me talking. Please recognize this voice. Hey, Odin, now you can talk in the background.
Is he talking?
Yeah, see, we can't hear him at all.
We can't hear him at all.
It worked. It's magic.
That's it.
Yeah.
I cannot believe A, that worked, B, that I understood that it should work that way.
You're making progress, Scotty.
It's just one small thing each year.
Yeah. 150 years from now, you're going to be a force to be reckoned with.
Yep. I will build the computers then.